Let's talk about my budget EDC knife collection. What's going on, everybody? I was just watching a video talking about a knife collection, and the knives were 100, 200, 300, 400. They were expensive. So I got to thinking, how do I feel about my collection? My collection is more of a budget collection because all I care about is no knife in here is over $100. Most of them are probably around 50 bucks or less. Nothing wrong with the expensive knives, but as long as you have a knife, as long as you're carrying a knife, that's really all that matters. So let's get into my list. Let's start from the ones that I've had the longest, and I'll go to the newest knife at the end. First up, the big guy. It's been around, it needs some TLC. This is an old one. I've had this for almost 10 years now. It's the Charade 470T old timer. I think it's the made in the USA one. Let me check. Yes, it is. It is the made in the USA version. This knife cost me nothing, but it's full of memories and it means everything to me. So this particular knife I got from my dad back in 2014. We took a motorcycle trip to Denver, and on the trip, some of my luggage fell off. I had some paracords, so he gave me the knife. I didn't have a knife at the time, so he was like, "Here, man, you need a knife." So gave me the knife, cut the paracord up, tied my stuff down, and we were ready to go. My dad's no longer with us, but it's something I'll always keep to remember him by. So definitely an important knife to me. Not much on the specs. I think it's 6.8 inches long. I think it has a 3.5 inch blade. I've seen different things. I've seen 3.2, I've seen 3.5, I've seen 3.9. I could measure it. It looks about 3.5, and it's 4.2 ounces, so it's pretty heavy. So today I'm gonna have T'Challa helping us out with the knives. RIP Chadwick Boseman. All right, next up, the Gerber EAB Light. I've had this thing for a long time. I've lost it, I don't know how many times. It always pops back up. I think I paid $6 for it. I think it's like double that price now, but it's an awesome little utility blade. The thing I love about it is you don't have to worry about the blade. You don't have to worry about it getting gummed up and junky and all that stuff, because you can just chuck it and get a new one. So I'm always loving that. I've got a stack of extra blades in case I need to replace it. One thing about these knives now, they're all in one place right now together, but they usually aren't. They're in their different pouches or in different places depending on where I usually keep them. So this one, like you remember from last week, my extended EDC, that's where this one is right now. And it's honestly the longest I've been able to keep up with it since I put it in there. It's an awesome little guy. Got a money clip on it. No one uses it for that, but awesome. Recommend a utility knife for everybody. They're cheap, they're sharp, and they get the job done. The dimensions, starting with the blade length, are 2.25 inch long. It's just the length of a basic utility blade. It's 5.1 inches long total length, and I think it's about 2.5 ounces. So nothing special, it's light. Get you one. One thing you won't get from me is talking a lot about the blade steels. It's important. Some people, that's all they talk about. For me, I noted, but I'm not a blade steel snob. If it cuts, I am good. There's other areas where I like to nerd out on, and the steels of my blades isn't really one of them. Maybe someday, but right about now I've got other things to get into black holes about. So next up is the Kershaw Natrix knife. It's the first one I bought where I was really like, I want the knife. It was planned out to be part of an all copper EDC that I started. Don't really carry it that way anymore. I kind of mix and match a little bit, but I still like this knife. It's got a nice little patina on it, and I've been enjoying it. Every now and then I'll still carry it for old time's sake, but now I just keep it with me, and usually around the house for something, but I don't usually carry it as much as I used to. It's a 2 3/4 drop point knife. I think the total length is 6.4 inches, and I think it's 3.2 ounces. Not a bad little knife, definitely enjoyed it. Next up, so there was a time where my Gerber EAB was lost and I wanted a utility knife. I didn't want to gum up my blade with what I was about to do. I think I was going to cut some window screen or something like that, and I wanted another utility knife. So I went over to Lowe's, picked up this guy. This is just my Cobalt utility knife. Same idea as the Gerber, a little beefier. It's got a little more of a handle so you can get a good purchase on it. You can do more heavy duty tasks. One thing to note is it is bigger and heavier than the EAB Light, but it's still a pretty good blade. Definitely like it. I definitely use it for more heavy duty tasks if I'm cutting something. Like I said, I was cutting window screen with it and it worked perfect. So again, the blade length is 2 1/4, 2.5, depending on what utility blade you get. It's 6 inches long, and I think the weight is 4.1 ounces, 4.16, something like that. So not too big, not too small, does the job. definitely something you can keep in your toolbox and just keep on you in case you need something. Next up, what I like to call my prettiest knife, the Civivi Altus that I have. I've had it since beginning of December. I bought it on Black Friday from Civivi. I was going to get a baby banter for my alpaca hub pouch, but I saw this one instead. Tested it out with my Natrix because I wasn't sure if it was going to fit. It fit just perfect, and I've had it. I've loved it ever since. It's probably the coolest knife to me that I've owned. I know there's more expensive knives out there. Some people can consider this a budget knife. I mean, it is by comparison. If you're talking about hundreds of dollars of knives, it's probably the most expensive knife I own, but I still love it. I love looking at it. I've shown it to people, messing around with it. It cuts stuff. It's my favorite knife right now. You know, on the measurements, it is bigger than my Natrix, but it is a little lighter. I guess I saved some weight on not having those copper scales. Just to talk about the dimensions, it's 7.1 overall length. The blade length is 2.97 inches, and the weight is 3.11 ounces, something like that. And like I said, I love it. It sits in my pouch. I don't have to worry about it sitting in my pocket. It's either clipped to my waist or it's in a bag. So the weight isn't really that much of an issue. I love this knife, people. So my newest knife, my littlest knife, this is the Kershaw Cinder. I almost got the copper because they do have one with copper scales, but I wanted it cheap. It's just gonna sit in my cigar EDC pouch like you saw in my other video. Check that out. And it just works perfect. I haven't used it that much yet, but it's here. When I have a glass of wine or something like that, it's gonna be there. I might even try it tonight to cut open a cigar, so we'll see. It's just got the tiniest little blade. It's the first knife I've ever purchased for an actual function and not just kind of a general purpose knife or anything like that. So overall, it's 4 inches long. It's 1.4 inches on the blade length, and it weighs 0.9 ounces. It feels like nothing. It's in my hand right now, and I almost don't even feel like it's there. So got to be careful with that, but definitely a nice, cool little knife. So right now they're all in my knife case from Civivi. I don't use this too often because they're in other places, but I thought for this video it'd be fun to break it out. All right, before we get out of here, let me talk about 3 knives that I would buy that are on my wish list. So the first one is the Lefine's Le Petit. It is a dual function knife slash cigar cutter. The company that makes these, they have tons of different ones. They go from like, I think 150 bucks all the way up to like 3,000 to 5,000. They have different scales on them. They have woods, they have metals, they have blades that have different city skylines etched in them. I get Atlanta if anything, but that's kind of cool. Next up, I guarantee, is a knife that you didn't expect. It's a Benchmade knife, but it's not the Bug Out or anything like that. It is the Station. It's part of their cutlery collection. I'd like a cool knife when I'm cooking with my wife or something like that, or just cooking period, chopping veggies, chopping fruit. People talk about using their EDC knives for food prep, but if you met my daughter, you know that's not going down. So I'd love a knife just for when I'm prepping food and doing stuff like that at home. I love that knife. It looks pretty cool. You can get it customized and etched to put your name, your logo. You can pick different scales. You can pick different blades. It is awesome. All right, last up, as you guys probably can tell, I'm a fan of Forge and Fire. So I'd love to get a knife from a Forge and Fire champion. So there's a guy that's in Texas. I think his name is Burgess Forge down in San Antonio. I'd love to pick up a knife from him. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be the Boar's Tusk or the Chef knife. He even has classes, so I might try one of those one day. Those are my knives. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite knife is, preferably under 50 bucks. I know there's tons of other knives out there. I am a fan of a lot of the more popular knives that you see out here on YouTube. Some of them ones that cost a lot more than the ones that I have. But for right now, they're not for me. Maybe in the future, because if I get into the different rabbit holes of scales and blade steels and all that good stuff and different options and different grinds and all that stuff, I'm sure I'd get down that rabbit hole and get lost and be something else I'm into. So with that, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Check out some of my other videos. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on my podcast, Foul Language Podcast. Take care of yourselves. I'm out.